Hey guys, welcome back to The Readers. I hope you are having an amazing day. Let's get right into the stories. The first one is a pro-revenge story. This happened about 5 years ago. My boss, Jake, was a real piece of work. A total control freak with an ego the size of Texas. He'd found out I was dating Emily, who worked at one of our satellite offices. It was a long-distance thing, but we made it work. Jake was the kind of guy who got off on messing with people's lives. He was married to Sarah, another employee, but he cheated on her left and right. His hobby? Photography. But not the wholesome kind. He'd take pictures of himself with his conquests and then brag about it to the guys on the production floor. "Hey, check out this hottie from accounting," he'd say, waving his phone around. "She's got skills that aren't on her resume, if you know what I mean." It made me sick, but what could I do? He was the boss. When Jake went to visit Emily's office, he tried to add her to his collection. Emily told me later what happened. "He cornered me in the break room," she said. "Told me he could advance my career if I was open-minded. I told him where he could stick his offer. Jake didn't take rejection well. He made up some bogus performance issues and got Emily fired. I was furious, but I knew I had to play it smart. Jake kept all his dirty photos in his office. Couldn't risk his wife finding them at home. One Saturday, I was working overtime when the cleaning lady came through. She unlocked Jake's office and I saw my chance. "Just taking some measurements," I said casually. "I'll lock up when I'm done." As soon as she left, I went straight for his desk. Sure enough, in the back of a drawer, I found a stack of photos about 4 inches thick. Jackpot. I took the whole lot. I bided my time until Jake went on another business trip. Then I picked out a dozen of the most incriminating shots. Jake with 4 different women, all dark-haired or redheads. His wife, Sarah, was blonde. I drove to the post office nearest their house and mailed the photos to Sarah. No return address. A month later, the office was buzzing with gossip. "Did you hear about Jake and Sarah?" my coworker whispered. "She's divorcing him. Her lawyer's going for blood." I couldn't help but smile. Emily and I got married last year, and we've put the whole mess behind us. Sometimes karma needs a little push. The next one is an entitled people's story. I never thought I'd be telling a story about how my homeowner association tried to rob me, but here we are. It all started when I moved into this nice little suburban neighborhood about a year ago. I work from home as a freelance video editor, so I have a pretty sweet setup in my home office. High-end computers, monitors, the works. Everything was going fine at first. I kept to myself, did my work, and didn't bother anyone. But then the homeowner association started getting on my case about the most ridiculous things. First, it was my lawn being a 1/4 inch too long. Then they had a problem with the color of my mailbox. I tried to play nice and comply with their petty rules, but it seemed like nothing was ever good enough for them. Things really started to go downhill when Karen, the homeowner association president, found out I was running a business from home. She claimed it was against the homeowner association bylaws and demanded I stop immediately. I politely explained that I wasn't violating any rules. I didn't have clients coming to my house or anything disruptive like that. It was just me in my home office doing my work. But Karen wouldn't listen to reason. She started sending me daily violation notices, threatening fines if I didn't cease my illegal business activities. I ignored them at first, hoping she'd get bored and move on to hassling someone else. But nope. Karen was like a dog with a bone. She even started rallying other homeowner association board members to join her crusade against my terrible crime of quietly editing videos in my own home. One day I had to leave town for a couple days to visit a client. I didn't think much of it. I'd been gone for work trips before without issue. But little did I know, Karen and her homeowner association cronies had been watching my house and waiting for an opportunity. The second day I was gone, my security camera alerted me to movement at my front door. I checked the feed on my phone and couldn't believe what I was seeing. Karen and 2 other homeowner association board members were trying to break into my house. I watched in shock as they jimmied open a window and climbed inside. Panicked, I called my dad, who lives nearby. See, my dad's a retired Marine, tough as nails and doesn't take crap from anyone. I quickly explained what was happening and begged him to go check it out. He said he was on his way and told me to call the police. So there I am, hundreds of miles away, on the phone with cop while watching these homeowner association psychos rummage through my house on the security feed. They went straight for my office and started unplugging my computers and equipment. It was clear they were planning to steal it all as some twisted form of homeowner association enforcement. Just as they were about to start carrying stuff out, my dad's truck came screeching into the driveway. Let me tell you, I've never been so glad to see that mean old truck in my life. Dad came bursting through the front door like the Kool-Aid man. Even through the grainy security feed, I could see the look of sheer terror on Karen's face when this 6'2" Marine came charging at them. Now, my dad may be in his 60s, but he's still built like a brick wall and meaner than a junkyard dog when he's angry. He grabbed the first guy and literally threw him out the front door. The second guy tried to run, but Dad caught him by the collar and dragged him out too. Then there was Karen. She tried to act all high and mighty, spouting off about homeowner association authority and how they had every right to be there. Dad wasn't having any of it. He picked her up, tossed her over his shoulder like a sack of potatoes, and carried her out, kicking and screaming. By this point, I could hear police sirens approaching on the video feed. Dad had all three of them sitting on the curb when the cops pulled up. It was honestly one of the most satisfying things I've ever seen. I flew home early the next day to deal with the aftermath. Karen and her lackeys were all arrested for breaking and entering, attempted theft, and a whole list of other charges. Turns out they didn't even have the authority to issue me fines in the first place, let alone break into my house and steal my stuff. The whole homeowner association board ended up getting dissolved after this fiasco. In the end, I decided to press charges against all of them. Karen tried to play the victim in court, claiming they were just doing their duty as homeowner association officers. But between the security footage, the police report, and my dad's testimony, they didn't stand a chance. All three of them ended up with hefty fines and probation. As for me, I'm still living in the same house, running my business without any more homeowner association harassment. Dad comes over for dinner every Sunday now, says he likes to keep an eye on things. And you know what? I sleep a lot better knowing he's nearby. The whole neighborhood breathed a collective sigh of relief when the homeowner association was dissolved. Turns out, pretty much everyone had been suffering under Karen's reign of terror. Now we all just live our lives in peace, without constant fear of fines or break-ins over petty rule violations. I learned a valuable lesson from all this. Never underestimate the lengths some people will go to abuse a little bit of power. But I also learned that sometimes having a badass Marine dad is the best home security system money can't buy. The next one is a petty revenge story. Christine used to have my phone number 3+ years ago. Clearly she did not want the baggage in her life to follow to the new number. Debt collectors, old flames, male and female, she was prolific if nothing else, and others. I can understand this, and Christine, I hope your new life is better today. Debt collectors gave up pretty quickly. I have not heard from one of those for 2 years now. Some of the old flames were very persistent, but eventually gave up as well. The last call, text from her past lovers was a year-ish ago. The big challenge was family personal appointments, mostly text confirmations, why to confirm, and to cancel, from doctors, hairdressers, nails, etc., and her employer. I still get the odd call, text from family that can't understand why Christine didn't share her new details. Sorry, I can't help you understand her motivations. As the calls, texts would come in, I explained it's not her number anymore. Please get her to update her details. Normal stuff for someone changing their number. People would say, thanks, we will get her to update. Over time, as this continued, I started getting frustrated. I cited HIPAA to medical and became a bit of a nuisance to others. That helped a bit, but largely there was no change. As personal appointments kept coming in more than a year later, enough was enough. I accepted the challenge of forcing change. I ignored confirmation messages until the day before when the last confirmation typically gets sent out. I canceled everything. Gynecologist, cancel, hair appointment, cancel, lawyer app, cancel. If they called to confirm, sorry, Christine can't make it anymore. Slowly, she started changing her number. No one wants appointments they make getting canceled after waiting for weeks or months. Good luck getting in again in any reasonable time frame. The best was just over 1 year in, I got a text from her boss. He wanted her to come in early for a special meeting the next day. I did the only reasonable thing and politely quit for her. The next day, I got a very terse text from her boss saying how unprofessional, unkind, not funny, etc. That my text was. My response, get Christine to change her number. I then got a very expletive-filled text from Christine. My response, change your number or I will keep canceling all your appointments. At that point, I don't think she realized how her appointments were getting canceled. A second, even more expletive-filled text followed. I LOL'd in response. Guess what? No more personal appointments. Still the occasional family member, though. How lazy can you be? The next one is a malicious compliance story. Background. I joined this Japanese-based company a few years ago as a production assistant. I wasn't assisting anyone. In production. I was the only American, the only one fully fluent in both languages. Still am, still looking for a better line of work. So I ended up helping everyone else in some fashion or another. Well, I also had to do my own work, of course, but when things shipped behind schedule, it was made out to be my fault. I helped our shipping manager send things out and receive them, count, quality check them, weigh the boxes, palletize them, etc. Our sales manager, the man himself in question, constantly asked me to double-check his emails so he sounded more natural and professional, and even had me get involved on numerous occasions to help him save face or placate customers. Event. From the time that I started, we'd been struggling to keep time because of inventory issues. These issues were both because our customer didn't keep accurate numbers and neither did we, not just for the parts they sent us for assembly, but also for the boxes we used to package the order before shipping. Boxes I used and only I used. Boxes I was not allowed to order, but had to ask Mr. Sales Manager to order for me. Well, he would forget to order them, and then I'd remind him, and he'd forget again, only ordering days later. It happened enough times that our customer finally demanded we count up our inventory. I made an Excel sheet, made it legible in both ENG, JPN, color-coded areas of concern. And I also added everything we used in the office, from boxes only used by shipping to gloves to the parts from our biggest customer as they were demanding we count. Everything got counted, everything was put in that document, and I made sure to include a field of when it was last counted. Result, suddenly we're making good time and getting ahead, and I don't have to worry about boxes. Now, this entire time, Mr. Sales was working on a 20 PG document that proved our president didn't do his job, trying to report him to the JP Home Office and get him fired. My two coworkers got a glimpse of it and saw there were sections on all of US too, bad-mouthing our work, trying to make it seem like only Mr. Sales was on the up and up. Finally, the JP parent company sends someone. This guy is, unknown to all of us, the son-in-law of the company owner of a family-owned and run company pretty common in Japan. Well, only I and our shipping manager learn of this since we actually talk to the guy, but Mr. Sales likes to treat him like a goof and poke fun at him. This guy JP sent to us. He carefully plans meetings with us for while Mr. Sales is out of the office and interviews all of us about what's been up at our USA branch. Our late shipments come up, and my pattern of shipping late and insulting our biggest customer with my laziness. There's also reports of me being on my phone too much, preoccupied watching videos or listening to music and not working. I start pulling out the emails and the inventory I was told to create. I show him the inventory history and my emails asking for Mr. Sales to do his job from before it was made. I show him the ship dates and the differences before and after I made the inventory file. Fallout. A friend of mine in Japan is suicidal, and I'd lost contact with him a few times. I decide to go to Japan and help him out, try to live there, but at best I have 6 months of savings. That means I have to leave the company. I know this guy from JP is going to arrive and all Mr. Sales' delusions of being USA branch president will die. But I couldn't be there to see it. So I went to Japan, spent my 6 months successfully. Friend re-entered college to chase his dreams instead of being a dead-eyed salaryman. He's on the mend. And returned to the US a few months ago. I get in contact with the company and they rehire me. Now that I'm here, I learned Mr. Sales quit shortly after I left, but not before he aired every last thing he had told me would stay between us and take all but a literal dump on my desk. I check my old inventory file. He zeroed it out. The company has been shipping late again, hired a new guy to do my job that's been getting parts returned to fix errors numerous times, something that only happened to me once. Do they want me to fix any of that? No. Here's a book of local businesses. Call them, drum up customers. Oh, okay. Can do. Thanks for the paycheck for doing something so easy that won't ever work, I guess. The next one is an entitled people's story. I've been thinking about this topic for a long time now, but as always, it's hard to find an answer without some other opinions. So, if anyone here wants to weigh in to help me, please feel more than welcome to do so. To the actual case, I've been married to my current wife for almost 3 years, and overall it's great. We have our ups and downs as everyone, but we've always worked out problems out. However, there are some things my wife does that hurt me deeply, and she knows it, but still does. First, she's always offended when I try to have some social life with a circle of friends from work. According to her, we never do things together, and it seems that I prefer to go out with friends rather than her. I would agree with her, if it wasn't the fact that she refuses to go out whenever I ask her. She's always exhausted from work, because she hates her current job and it puts her on a frantic routine. That means I would never go out if I couldn't go with my friends. I understand how tired she constantly is and how lonely she feels, but I wonder if there's any entitlement to complain about going out if she never feels like doing that. Second, she's always pissed at me for the pettiest reasons. E.g., last night we went to a comedy show she really wanted to. Now and then we have the chance to watch a famous comedian here. And got pissed because when the show ended, I asked her out to have dinner and why not some drinks, but I didn't know already where to go. After not even 5 minutes, she was already extremely annoyed and saying, "Let's just go home." Eventually, I found a place for us to go out, but from the moment she felt annoyed on, she was always on the phone and almost never even looked at me in the eyes. Third, she complains a lot. Sometimes she even belittles me when she has the chance. E.g., her period started this last night, and today she told me, "If you were feeling the pain I'm under right now, you wouldn't even stand up." I get that she feels a lot of pain during those times, and it make her feels like crap, but it offends me because she's the one that constantly complains about pain and tiredness. I never complain about those things, especially because I don't feel I have space at home to do so, and in the end, I just suck up all pain I feel. I never tell her when I have migraines. I have a chronic problem with those, and I know how painful those can strike. Once, I really considered to bang my head against the wall just to ease both pain and sickness. Adding to the previous point, she also constantly complains to me about her co-working friends as if they're living their lives wrong. There's this woman that broke up her relationship recently and all she wants to do is to go out and drink. And my wife always comments to me how she's not well for doing this and that she should seek therapy. At those moments, I'm always thinking, let that woman live her life. That's her way to deal with everything she's going through. And when I don't agree with my wife, I'm the inconsiderate one that doesn't create a safe space for her. Fourth, and I promise this is the final point, she wants to receive lots of love without giving me nearly nothing. If I get a mere pat on the head or a scratch in my beard, that's a day she gave me a lot. On the other hand, I have to constantly spoil her, be it feed her, guessing the right time she will be hungry, of course, cuddle until she feels hot and dismisses me, or give her massages. Literally, she asks me to massage her calves every single day at least twice. I hope I was able to describe everything as impartial as possible because I'm really struggling to find out if that behavior is entitlement or not. But you know, it strikes a doubt in me when I feel she should say, "I'm sorry," and just doesn't. That's something I almost never hear, and thinking about it sometimes makes me feel hurt. Anyway, thanks everyone for your time, and thanks in advance for all opinions and advices. Stay hydrated. The next one is an entitled parent story. So this happened just over a decade ago. I was around 17 working in the main mall in my town at a well-known athletic shoe store where everyone dressed like refs. It was time my lunch break, so after scarfing down some greasy food court meal, decided to head out back to the employee smoking area of the mall. A couple of minutes after I sat down, a woman, around 30, her mother, around 55, and her child on the stroller, around 2, came and sat beside me with their lunch. I looked at them strange thinking, of all the places around the mall, why here, with a child, whatever I guess. Not long after, one of them, I don't remember if it was the mother or grandmother, started yelling at me that I need to leave the area because I'm smoking beside their child while they are eating. I replied, "This is the only area of the mall property I am allowed to smoke." They replied, "Then put it out because you cannot be smoking beside my child." I replied, "Lady, this is the only area of the mall I can smoke during my break. I am not smoking inside the food court. This isn't my problem." Maybe not the best thing to say, but whatever, I was young and honestly they deserved it. Keep in mind, this entire time I am in uniform. Before I knew it, the old woman was literally flying at me. She started trying to punch me in the head, so I grabbed her arms and held her down. That's when the younger woman ran up and just started wailing on my head. I just sat there taking it. She was larger but could not throw a punch to save her life. For a few minutes. Then security came running out and separated us. No joke, these women started yelling and screaming about how I just attacked them and was blowing smoke in their baby's face. I told them that was BS, and they had no idea who to believe, but were definitely more on their side. Thank God this older guy who worked at a mobile phone store around me saw everything go down, after everyone was just sitting there baffled, and obviously lit up another cigarette. The man came up to me and let me know he saw everything, and that he would be going to security right away to stand up for me. He said how insane that was and offered some sympathy. Then I went back into work. My face very red from being hit, but thankfully no bruises. My boss asked me TF just happened and I told her the story. She literally didn't even believe me. The cops ended up coming in about an hour later. Apparently the woman was trying to press charges against me. I was stunned. I told them who to talk to and watch the ducking tapes. Thankfully they did. Just before the end of day, the manager of La Sanza comes into my store letting me know that woman was her employee. She got fired for assaulting someone on shift. The mall also banned her for the same reason. The cops came into my store asking if I wanted to press charges. I told them she probably learned her lesson, but I'd let them know if I saw her again. Thankfully, I never did. Thank you for watching. I would really appreciate it if you could like the video and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. We'll see you again tomorrow.